Welcome to Dr. James Spitting Game Podcast. As I close out the final episode, it was only right to sit down with someone who represents what development, discipline, and commitment really look like. Jason Crowe Sr. is not just a coach. He's a father who's guided his son, Jason Crowe Jr., into becoming one of the top players in the country. This conversation goes beyond basketball. It's about responsibility, sacrifice, and what it takes to truly prepare young people. Appreciate everyone who tuned in along the way. Coach Jason Crowe, how you doing, man?
Blessed, brother. Blessed. Definitely blessed.
Thank you for taking time out to join your bro. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So before we get into anything, I want to start here. I don't know if you remember, but do you remember the first time we met?
The first time, hmm, I'm not gonna say I did. The first time, I don't remember the first time. Tell me about it.
Well,
Was
I
it hoping at
remember
Inglewood?
the first time, yeah. The first time I remember was I wasn't going to Inglewood.
No, I remember that.
Do you remember me going to Inglewood?
Do I remember? I never remember you went to Inglewood. Did you go to Inglewood when
Exactly.
I was there? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't
Exactly.
remember you going to Inglewood.
So I checked into Inglewood the end of my freshman year, and I was there every bit of 2 months. At that time in my life, I was skipping class and getting into a lot of fights. Your father ended up expelling me.
I remember that. I don't remember you being expelled, but I remember when I had seen you because when you came. What year are you? Essentially, 95, right?
94.
You're 94, so you came in when I came in. So really, the reason why is because I didn't really know nobody except who played football because I'm not from Indiana. So I didn't know. So we was in different loops. You know what I'm saying? Because I was playing football at the time. So I just knew whoever like Tate Lane. I knew the football players and a couple dudes. That's it. I didn't know
Well,
nobody because Shorty wasn't going there yet. He came the next year.
so I went to Inglewood from like March to May, my freshman year.
Oh, at the end.
Yeah. I had already got removed from Morningside, got to Inglewood, and so at Morningside, I just ditched a lot. Like I never ever went to class.
Right.
At Inglewood, it was the same thing, but I started having fights at Inglewood. I had like about 3 fights in that short span of time. So when your dad expelled me, I resented him for a long time because I always lived in Inglewood, but I never went to school in Inglewood. And my mom finally allowed me to go to school in Inglewood with my friends and stuff. But for me, it was more about making my name on the turf. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was more about the streets. It wasn't really about grades and sports. I love sports, but I felt making my name in the hood was bigger than that. So I didn't last there. Today, I feel that your pops changed the trajectory of my life. Had I stayed at Inglewood, I don't think I graduate high school. I don't even think I'd be living past 18, 19 years old had I stayed there. So, big shout out to him because a lot of people they look at when a kid get expelled, removed from a community, they feel that the adults gave up on the kids. I look at it like sometimes a kid need to be removed from a community, not just for the sake of doing right for that community, but that kid might need that. That kid
Another
might need to
environment,
be, yeah, that
another
environment might
another
need,
environment.
yep.
'Cause that's where your friends were. But Richard and them wasn't there yet.
They was there before me. I
Not my
came right,
freshman year.
I came about a
They
month
came at
after.
the end of the year. They came at the end of the year.
That's what I'm saying. I came about a month after them.
Yeah, they came at the end of the year. They did.
Yep. Um, so yeah, man, with that being said, shout out to your pops. And to remind you, I think the first time I ever met you was one of them open gyms at Inglewood.
Yeah, I mean, we was
Mm,
hooping.
we
We
used
was
to get
hooping.
in that gym.
Yeah, we was hooping. I remember that. That's what I thought. I thought we was gonna say that we was hooping like some 2-on-2s though, like some three on
No, no,
threes.
you right. That is it. But I did know that we obviously had to go to Inglewood at the same time, and I didn't know if we had already brushed paths already or not. But I don't think we
Nah,
did.
not at that point. Not at that point. Because I wasn't moving. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know none of y'all at that point.
Right.
I didn't know none of y'all.
So now let's transition to this book that I just published. Prepared adults raise prepared kids. I want to thank you for taking time out and supporting me and going to get that book.
Oh, no doubt
Um,
about it, man. You already know. For one, uh, I'm just like even with your intro, I'm just a tremendous fan of yours. Like I've shared your story a lot. I think I knew somebody you worked with before. They went to church with me. I can't think of her name. It was a lady that you worked with when
my
you was, huh?
Maisha Riley.
Riley. Yeah. Her name wasn't Riley when I knew her, because I knew her from a baby. But she married Riley. Yeah, that's what she married. That's her husband. So that's how you know her. But yeah, I was telling her, really, you know what I mean, just your story, I think, is an important story to be told. Your book is not about you, though. You share some things in your book about some experiences that you had. But I think your experiences and your story, your journey gives you the greatest perspective on this, you know, what you're speaking on. Because you're speaking, you're able to speak from both sides. You know,
Yeah,
few people are able to speak from both sides because in order to speak from both sides, you have got to have been the kid that is the system is failing, and then you have to go. Now, who comes from being that kid to being a kid that is trying to change the systems and effectively help kids be able to adapt and understand and how to help them move through the system. And then your perspective of giving the tools to the leadership, you know what I mean? Because they don't understand the other side. They may think they know how to deal with people like you. In order to be in the position that you guys are in, leadership, leading young people, doing all these type of things, they're going to put you through all these courses, right? They're going to tell you situational, this is this and this and that. But having that human element of understanding and being able to speak, you said something here in the book that I really took into about how the kids are educated, you know, and how the home life affects it. Man, you say so many powerful things in this book. I remember us being on the phone, and the only one thing that I was me and you was debating back and forth. I wasn't really like denying it, but I have a perspective too, but I hadn't read the book yet. So my perspective is always, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, but my job is always to empower the kids because their reality is I deal with kids so where on June, whatever, let's just say June 5th, they're a kid. On June 6th, they're not. The way the world looks at them, the way they'll be treated, the way they'll be dealt with, and who's going to be responsible for their actions is them. So I've always tried to put the onus on them that no, you gotta, and that still is true. but also we have to prepare them in a better fashion because I'm just on the other side where I'm not going to be the guy that's judging the kids, right? I'm not going to be that guy, but I know I can't help the people that do judge me, if that makes sense. Like a lot of times I'm not there when it's judgment day for them. So I'm trying to prepare them for that.
Yeah, man. But just real quick, I just want to kind of just share who Maisha Riley was to me. Um, she believed in me early on. I met her my second year working in charter schools. Um, she made me believe that I can do some things in a school setting that I didn't always believe, right? Before her, there was a guy named Daniel Russell who I worked with his kid in flag football at Inglewood. Um, Russell and Riley had already been working together. It was my second year where she began to put me in leadership roles up there. You know what I mean? Like somebody that really didn't have education at the time. I had got my bachelor's right around my second year with her, and I went on to get my master's while I was with her. And her belief in me, man, just made me believe more and more in myself. So shout out to Maisha Riley and Daniel Russell, which I had him on one of my first podcasts. So if you all ain't checked that out, check it out. But now I want to move into the basketball part of things. First, I want to ask you, before I ask you that, I want everybody that's watching this to understand coaching your own child is way more difficult than you think it is. For me, I coached my daughter. I started teaching her how to dribble a basketball when she was like 2 years old. I coached her all the way until eighth grade. Eighth grade, we had a phenomenal season where we were able to play some of those 15U teams that were Nike teams on the EYBL. And we beat most of them. These were all eighth graders. Went from that to she didn't want me to coach her no more. And I respected that. She went on, had a phenomenal high school career, got her scholarship, and even went and played pro for a minute until she just couldn't go no more because it just wasn't fun and she was in pain. Now, I think about you coaching your son and the things he's been able to accomplish and the amount of talented players that you probably coached with him and during that time and the circuit you guys played on. Can you talk about some of the challenges that you had to face with keeping it separated with father and coach?
Well, one thing I will say though is definitely me having a daughter and me having a son. The dynamics between the daughter and son are totally different, right? There's so many things about when, like, I probably wouldn't be a great coach for women. I don't. I've never done it. I've trained girls, and I've always had great relationships there. But coaching is a whole other thing, and raising them has been different. I think that matters too. You know what I mean? Because they have different issues and things of that nature that we don't. You know what I'm saying? But coaching my son, same thing like you. But I was kind of the opposite guy. I was trying to get away from coaching initially. I was trying to put him around other people because you don't know what your son is going to be. And I never wanted to pressure him to play basketball. Me being in the sport, I played pro till I was 35 years old. So now, at this point, I know how serious this is. I know the amount of work and dedication and sacrifice I put into it. I wasn't going to force that down his throat, right? But that's still in me. So for me to coach him, I can't be fake. I got to be totally honest with him. And I can't, I'm a no nonsense guy. Like I don't play. You can't. We got to figure out what you're trying to do here. You trying to be serious or not? But we was able to get a good chemistry early because he loved to work. Like started off with him just with the Avengers. I was like, look, you want to be an Avenger? I caught that. I was like, all right, we're gonna run these hills and we're gonna do these push-ups and we're gonna do all this stuff so you can be strong like the Avengers. So a lot of it was like that. So by the time it got to really being basketball, I left this out. I started coaching him because I had a program and the coach that was supposed to coach him didn't show up for the first game. So I'm sitting there looking stupid in front of all these parents. It's the first game of the year. I got a whole new program I'm starting. I got the high school level, but I'm trying to do the kids stuff. And the coach don't show up. So now I'm coaching. You know what I'm saying? So it is right there. That's how I started coaching. It was an accident. I wouldn't train them. I didn't want to do that. I was training other players at that particular time. And then I would go drop him off. You know what I'm saying? I would go drop him off. I wouldn't even watch. I would just drop him off and leave. So it just grew. It grew. But I think that we had that time during the pandemic where he was essentially in the seventh or eighth, and we was in the house together, and his love for the game was growing. Like I would walk through the house, he's watching Elijah Wan videos, he's watching Dr. J lifestyle. He's doing research on all these other players. I've seen him. He was looking at Pete Maravich. He was on my computer and he was studying Pete Maravich. So I was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like he's starting to try to dig and dig and dig and dig for information. So now let me help him get to it. And us being together in the pandemic, we just was able to build that kind of chemistry of our love for the game. So I think the pandemic truly helped him and it helped me and our ability to develop that trust. But I think the most important thing of coaching your kid, because you coach them over time, is that the onus is on me to adapt, right? Because when they're young, like for example, they're six, you just do what I say, right? You're six. That's not going to work at 12 and 13. I mean, you could do that if that's what you want to do. That's not making an effective relationship. Now it's becoming more of a partnership, right? You got to treat him with respect and you have to take time out, give him the details, explain the why. You can't be lazy in that regard and just say, I'm the daddy, shut up, I know everything. That's not going to work. You have to adapt the relationship to where, and then it's going to be moments. We probably had, I would say, in 4 years of coaching them, we probably had 3 or 4 moments, right? But how many moments have you had with other players? So it's not like, you know what I mean? Where it's like you got to treat them with respect and you can't bring the daddy stuff to the coaching. You can't try to big time him like I'm your daddy, this, that, and other. Do it. You can't do that when you coach him, right? You have to sit back. If there's an issue, you got to talk to him like you would talk to any other one of your players and explain to him what you're thinking, what's the objective you're trying to accomplish, and what you see or you feel that he needs to do in those situations. And those are relationships that are grown. So it really helps me that I don't bring the daddy stuff to the basketball. I don't try to be, I treat him like any other player in terms of I respect him. That's the way I treat all my players with respect. I don't come at them like, oh, I'm the great coach, you know, and I know everything. I feel confident in what I'm teaching for sure. I feel very confident in what I'm teaching, but it's my job to build that trust. That's the most important word. And that's what I talk about with all my players is that if you can trust me, then I can show you some things a lot faster and better, you know, than if you don't trust me. So my job is to go out there and figure out how to get that trust.
Yeah, so I think one thing that's very important that we pay attention to what you just said is being able to explain the whys and whatnot and getting away from the because I said so. Because I think that's a great motivator for somebody that's following, right? You can say, do this, and you would get compliance, right? You do this because I said so. Now they're going to do it just to comply with you, just because they want to get that playing time. I'm doing it because my coach said so. But when they understand that why, when you explain to them, well, I need you to box out before going after that rebound, because even if you don't get that rebound, guess what? You just made sure that person didn't get the rebound. When they understand that, that gives them another reason to do it other than just because my coach said so.
Right.
So I think that's a very
Perspective.
important thing that not just coaches, but parents need to understand as well, right? In the house, you can tell your kids to do this all you want because you said so. All you're getting is compliance versus long term results will be the kid is doing this because
Hold
they
on real quick.
understand why
Hey,
it's needed.
fellas, yo, fellas, can I go somewhere else, please? Yeah, yeah, I'm filming something.
So, how did growing up with a father like yours shape your view of discipline, accountability, and leadership?
But my father is totally different. He was the I said something. You know, he was that type. I'll never forget one of the stories. Like my father would tell me. I remember I wanted him to buy me something, and I came to him. He was on the couch, and I said, "You said you was gonna do it." Like I tried to corner him, and he looked at me and said, "Yeah, I said that." And now I've changed my mind. Now I'm watching this. Like in other words, my father was the type of person that he never really yelled at me. You know, he was firm though. Like he led with more of fear. You know, which and I look back on that and like I'm my child, the way I was raised was for that time, right? I think in the era that I grew up in, the way he raised me, he had me on the bus, you know, on the second grade. So, you know, people saw me, my father's the principal, this, that, and other, but they saw me, they didn't really understand. I've been on the bus up down Normandy and Western since I was in the second and third grade by myself, moving around, having to be responsible for myself. If I go through this hood, I gotta maintain. I might have to fight, I might have to run. I'm hooping in all different hoods. Like so he gave me a freedom also to fail. That's what he did. I remember him telling my mom, she would be like, she would be scared, like he can't do. And he would always say, well, look, he ain't supposed to live this shit. If he can't figure it out, then what is he here for? Like, so my father's point was, I told him this, and if he don't get it, then he suffered the consequences of that. So, you know, he wasn't gonna baby me. He wasn't gonna do none of that. You know what I'm saying? So he raised me kind of tough and kind of hard. You know, he was always reality though. He would tell you, like we'd be coming home from the game, and my mom would be like, Jason played well. He would be like, did he? He looked weak out there. Like, you know what I'm saying? So as I got older, I realized what he was doing. When I was young, I used to resent that. I used to kind of almost hate him sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I used to resent the way he was, but then I realized like that made me tough because I always wanted to stand up. I always wanted to fight. I remember the first time I got into a fight at Rancho Park. I didn't even get into a fight, bro. I fouled Tommy Davis at the time, fouled him. He punched me. I'm in shock. I'm 7, 8 years old. We're in a basketball game. I don't know if I was a punk or not. I really don't remember that, but I wasn't like crying or nothing. You know what I'm saying? It just we in the game. He punched me. Okay. He made me. He's like, look, you ain't getting in this car. And when I got home, I had to walk from Rancho Park to Arlington Adams. So it's about like 3 or 4 miles. When I got home, bro, he had already purchased boxing gloves and it was dudes in my yard. So that's how I was raised. It was the local, it was in my yard. And I came home looking like, is that my house? What they, what I mean? It was not what's going on in my house. I got home from being sad, like being 8 or 9 years old, walking home with boxing gloves there. So I was raised totally different, you know what I mean? But what I realized raising my son, what I wanted him to deal with was controlled adversity, right? I wanted him to deal with controlled adversity. I never wanted to rule with fear because I felt that would alter his decision making, right? When I'm not around. If your thing is fearing me and as to why you do right, no, I want you to do the right decision because you're doing the right thing, not because you're scared you're gonna get in trouble. No, I want you to have the goal of success. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be on success, not scared of failure or getting in
Hmm.
trouble. So, I always tell them like, I appreciate my parenting style that was raised to me, but I'm totally different than my father.
All right. So, when did you realize basketball could take you somewhere?
I don't know if I really realized it until I was in it. I just kept working. I mean, I just kept working. I kept working. I kept working. I kept working. I didn't know what was really happening. It was more of a love thing, and that you just working, and then you hoping, and then it just took off. And I realized that I had got to a point where I was really good. You know, because I stayed diligent with the work, but I didn't have those type of dreams of playing in India or playing anything. I just was hoping, and just, but I did stay diligent with the work. I think in having Paul Pierce be successful, it's always when you see somebody next to you being successful, and I'm working with him every day. And you know what I'm saying? So that helped a lot. You see somebody else do something right next to you. You might not reach their level, but I felt like he pulled me up by him being successful.
Shout out to Paul Pierce as well, man. It's good to see how he came back to Inglewood and supported you and your son and
Yeah.
the whole movement that's going on in the city right now.
Yeah.
Uh, so, what do you think? There's anything that separated you from everybody else growing up? I mean, you kind of touched on it with your father and how his discipline, how he was different from most of us, and how we were raised at home. But in terms of just
Well,
you,
I had a collective, bro. Like my
uh,
grandmother. So my grandmother, it was love. It was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It was all love everywhere. And I think that's the message that I give my son. Like our job now is to help these kids understand how to love. Because I think that my love affair with basketball only grew and grew. And as the love grew, my game grew, my knowledge grew, my wisdom grew, my desire to want to burn grew. It's like when you love something, you care for it differently. You don't make sacrifices for stuff you love, right? Like if I know I love this game now, I'm not going like used to be times when Paul would come home from the summer, I'm not going out. I'm working out at 5 in the morning. I'm working out at 5 in the morning. I used to work out 7, 8 hours a day. Like when I'm in my 20s, that's love, right? Because I wasn't getting paid to do that. I wasn't getting paid to do that. But I knew the pay would come. But my job was to put the love out there, you know? And I think that started to become the separation was, the way I was raised was true. I was in the church, so I could never go too bad. I was always rebelling. But the message and the love was always right there for me. You know what I'm saying? So eventually that stuff hit in. And all the principles and things that my grandma and everybody was saying. If my dad missed with something, my mom missed, and my grandma hit, my grandfather hit. I remember my first year I got kicked out of school. I had to come back to JUCO. That was a turning point for me because I was embarrassed. So when I came back to JUCO, I'm going to trade tech. I'm coming from hanging out on the weekend, getting drunk, doing. I didn't do none of that. I said, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna ride my bike. And I was going to school with Dwight at the time. He was there for like the first semester for a little bit. He went, but I realized then like, okay, I got something right here. You know what I'm saying? I just got to stick with it because guys will come to practice and they would go home. I would ride my bike from Inglewood to Trade Tech. Then I'm in the weight room, not with the team. I'm in the room by myself. I'm in there getting shots up. I would be on campus from 7 in the morning until like, and I leave at like 6, 7 at night.
Hmm.
Everybody else couldn't have that mental stamina. And that's where I saw the separation started coming. I started being more confident. I started getting more awards. I started getting recruited differently. People started treating me different. But then that just make you want to work harder.
Yeah, love is important, whether it's loving what you do or just having love for the people that are pouring into you, and for them to actually have love for you to be able to mentor and to teach and to lead. Talked about that. Well, Torino talked about that during his podcast. But yeah, a lot of times we forget how important love is in terms of coming together and working with people in relationships. Um, but there's one thing I've learned working with kids is that talent isn't really the issue, it's the structure. Something again, you had to have structure to do the things that you did in terms of being there from 7 in the morning to seven. And all that is structure right there. Because for me, I didn't have structure, and I called myself working out with Jay Hart, but I was all over the place coming from the penitentiary to getting put out the house to there was no structure for me, and I had to figure things out. And my structure had became just simply going to work every day to get a paycheck, which was the foundation of me building myself up to where I'm at today. So the structure, I think, is very important that we all kind of forget. It really matters, especially for kids. Uh,
Yeah.
let's get it, let's get into the fatherhood and development a little more. Um, so you've raised a high level player, but more importantly, a young man. What did you do intentionally as a father?
Intentionally as a father, well, the most important
So,
thing, like you said, you want to make sure that this is a I wanted him to be hardworking, right? So I wanted him to be hardworking and I wanted him to be a person that had great character. Not perfect, not perfect, but that respects, open the door for women. Simple thing, you know, a person that the school can count on, even when he was young, to do things. He can be called upon to show up and do things. So I wanted to develop a leader. I think anybody that plays for me, that's what the focus of. First day I started talking about that is leadership. First you gotta lead yourself, and then you can lead others. So that's the basics of the mentality is that we want to build leadership. I don't want you fading to the back. So I would go even when he was playing with other coaches. Sometimes I would go watch certain tendencies that he had, and I would go talk to him about them, and I would try to instruct him on, look, you can't do this. You got to get to the front. When you're doing this, even if you're going to class, I would make sure he's sitting in the front row. Sit in the front. So that way you leading, you showing that you care and other people, then you can go out and play within that line. And you can be the goofy kid that you want to be, you know. But definitely want a hard work and I wanted respect and character to be, there.
okay, so in terms of development, what do you see? Where do you see parents are getting it wrong at?
They're not able to, first of all, they're not able to evaluate their kid, right? Because they're wanting things for their kid that their kid has not earned. So now you're taking when somebody earns something, that's what they've done. You can't take it from them. They earn that.
So where do parents get it wrong when it comes to development?
Uh, Parents, they make a few critical mistakes. The one mistake is that they're not able to effectively evaluate their kids, and they don't know where to go to get an accurate evaluation, right? So now what they're doing is they're if you can't evaluate something, you can't grow it. You can't grow it properly, right? Because you don't know what it actually needs. You're thinking this is good. You're thinking that is a priority instead of understanding that let me sit back. And also too, it's more pressure and the onus is on parents to develop their kids more today than ever because of the fact that we talked about it earlier. We just met in the gym hooping. A lot of times kids are not hooping. They're not getting that base of learning the game. The kids are learning the game so differently now because they're learning basketball through training. Training is not basketball. Just like going to the gun range don't make you a cop, right? Just because you can learn how to shoot. Kids are learning how to shoot and dribble. Basketball encompasses teamwork, defense, screen setting, clapping for your teammates, cheering for your teammates, showing up as all these different components are being left out. The fact that you play to win being left out. And so parents are just don't understand the game, but basketball is a sport that everybody thinks they know more than they do, right? Because if you look at tennis, no parent thinks they know tennis. They don't try to teach their kid anything. And they would never let a person who hadn't had a resume train their kid, right? Football, you're not gonna let somebody who hasn't had a history of working with wide receivers or who didn't play in the NFL or who didn't play college somewhere train your son at a wide receiver. You're not gonna sign up for that. But basketball, we make the mistake of signing with people who have been aligned with other guys who have been successful because a lot of times, like if I'm working with somebody who's in the NBA, he may just need me to pass him the ball to put him through the paces. He's already who he is. But now
Right.
I can go and put that on my resume. So now parents fall in that trap of chasing resumes. So it's a very hard job for parents, right now. I do sympathize for parents because they don't have a proper manual on how to proceed. And then now a lot of parents think they can buy the game and not understanding how to nurture the love of the game. Our job as parents is to teach our kids and instruct them on how to love. Like, because we talked about that earlier, but that's a recurring thing because now you're gonna learn better, right? When you love something, you're gonna learn better. You're gonna you're gonna pour into it at a different way, you know, than you would if you're just doing it for other reasons, or you don't even understand about love and how to care. So the parent's job now is not to really teach them something they don't know, but it's to teach them about the characteristics and the best know themselves. The best parents are working with their kids on things that they can evaluate, right? Attitude, how hard you play. You know, if the parents focus on what they know about their kid that other people don't know, that will help their kid go further. Because you can look at your kid and certain things like, I don't like how you respond to your teammates. You can go talk to them about that. They don't value those things. They don't value those things. But I guarantee you, if you value those things, you're going to get more results in the performance.
I agree 100%. I always say kids don't fail, the systems and the adults fail them. What do you think about that?
I think it's true, man. I really do. I think it's our job is to show the kids the way. And if they don't know the way, then where are they supposed to go? How are they supposed to take the wheel for themselves and they haven't learned the road? So we have to show them the way. We have to show them the how and the why. Not just the how, but the how and the why. And then they can do it for themselves. But a lot of times kids are put in a position where they're not getting that proper information. So That's what you're saying is very important. Creating a system that is successful.
So the last thing I want to touch on is different, right? Not only did you raise your son, not only did you coach him, now you're about to coach him at Missouri.
Yeah.
Help people understand how difficult is it to be a father and to coach at that level.
I'm gonna get there and find out. I don't have no experience there yet, but I
I
just
mean,
think
but
that
I
all
mean, but
roads led to that, though. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
but Jay, even at the high school level, it kind of seemed like it wasn't that difficult for you, but just in general, how challenging do you think? And to coach high school is one thing, but to coach Inglewood at the level that you guys played at, just talk about how challenging that is to be able to coach your son at that level.
Well, I think the challenge is we faced them early, you know, and in terms of uh, the responsibility was on him. He's been around the game for so long, right? Because a lot of people really learned about me through him because his name became a national name, and so people were just thinking I'm just coaching him when I had been coaching prior to him. So he was able to be in the gym with Jaime Jaquez a lot and see that his, you know, purpose and his way he approached the gym. He was able to see Peyton Watson and guys like that who made it to the NBA. He was able to see guys that was in the program who had tremendous talent and failed, right? For whatever reason, who didn't fulfill their promise. So he was able to get these lessons, and as he got older, some of the things he understands now more than he did when he was 9, 10, 11 years old, being in the gym, watching. But he can remember who made it and who didn't. And he can remember certain characteristics about certain players. So we had the benefit of him growing up in the gym, right? And coaching him coming to Inglewood, he took upon the responsibility of being a leader and showing up every day and working hard to set the example for everyone else. So I think that's what he made it a lot easier for me. Because yes, I put a lot of this in him at an early age, but he took on so much responsibility since I started coaching him in high school. He came right in and he came in and said, look, he didn't really say it, he said it with his action. You know, like I'm trying to win everything, every shooting drill, he's trying to win it. So if you have a kid that's probably not doing that, then you have a greater challenge of how to implement him into the group. I never had that challenge of implementing him into the group because he's been a leader since ninth grade. He's been a guy that always, you know, he's probably, if you look at all our practices in 4 years, he's probably won like 95% of the scrimmages. I don't care who team I put him on.
Hmm.
I put him on the second unit 85% of the time, right? I don't put him with the starters. I hardly do that. You know, so and when it comes time to run up the hill, when it comes time to get in the weight room, he's there. Like in 4 years of me coaching, he's never missed a practice. He's never missed a practice. He missed maybe a couple of them with injuries where he couldn't go, but he was there working on the sideline, working on ball handling, doing, you know. But that you can probably those practices are probably less than 2 or 3. So he
Right.
shows up every single day and works hard. So he's made it easier for me to coach. You know, so it goes both ways. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, and maybe that goes back to what you're talking about. Like I can look back on it and say that he got the right information and everything was all it was nothing forced. I never forced nothing down his throat. I was just honest with him. He wasn't working hard. I just told him, like, you're not gonna make it to the goals that you had. I'm cool. You know, I have my career. I can't live through you. So whatever level you want to be at, I'm gonna support you. But if you want to be at this level, that's not good enough.
Right.
And the relationship that we have has been great that he trusts me. You know what I'm saying? Like he trusts me with the information I'm giving him to this day. You know, sometimes it's harder than others to get the message across. It ain't just like that easy all the time.
Right. Right.
But like we talked about earlier, the onus is on me to get my message to him and adapt. I gotta understand like what mood he's in, what energy space he's in. I can't just come in here. Damn it, didn't I tell you I know more than you on this? That ain't no, what is that? You know what I'm saying? You know, I gotta show him that I'm knowledgeable. I gotta let him know that by my actions. And then, you know, he's gonna be receptive or he's not feeling today, then sometimes I gotta get more stern. But the relationship that we've had, I understand that it's on me to be patient, more patient. Because I gotta look back when I was his age, right? How I responded to authority. It's respect, but sometimes you think you know more than you do, you know? So I always coach with that in mind. I always coach with the young J. Crowe in mind, not the 50-year-old who's more mature and who's more reserved and who will think before he responds and who's not so quick. You know what I mean? I think about I had struggles with coaches when I was so intense. It wasn't about me having a bad attitude, but I'll be so intense. I'm fired up. And I don't want to hear that right now. You know, so I can't now come back and tell him, oh, you were bad. You bad because you did this. No, I did that. But I wasn't bad. I just had to understand that that wasn't acceptable and that wasn't the right way to do things. So I think a lot of times, you know, that's why I think you're so important because your experiences are such that you have an education in streets and you have a doctorate degree. So now you can look at a kid and be honest when you telling them something. When somebody who hasn't been through you don't got to go through every experience that a kid goes through. We all go through different. But you've been through enough challenges and enough things where you bumped your head to say, I get it. This the road you're gonna go down. You understand? I'm not talking down to you. I'm talking from experience. I might not be experiencing the trauma that you have, but I understand. And I understand that you want to be on this side of things at some point. You want to be on the right side of things. You know what I'm saying?
And Jay, I appreciate this conversation for real, man. This wasn't just about basketball. This was about how structure, accountability, and decisions change lives. And I feel like I'm living proof of that.
Yeah. Everybody should get this book. Whoever watch this podcast, if you haven't purchased this book right here, I'm gonna give it a commercial because it's really an easy read. You know, it's an easy read. You know, you can read it in a weekend or a day or two, but it has a lot of quality points and a lot of great perspectives that you can utilize, or it can just strengthen your understanding. I tell people this a lot. Like most self-help books, they don't come with new information, but they reiterate things that you know that are important to help you be able to lead where you are. So this book right here is important, man. And I'm glad you did this. I'm super proud of you, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
I'm super proud of you, and you deserve your flowers because you have achieved, and you are an example, and that's why you can talk this talk.
Appreciate you big time, man. Definitely gonna come see you when you guys come out here. I believe you in the same conference as Pitt. So that's
No, we're not.
No?
We're not. Pitt is in the
No, no, no,
ACC.
no, 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 no. I'm tripping. That's Jay Hart over at SMU now.
Yeah, Jay Hart is in there. They're in the ACC with them.
Is somebody else? Are you with? Oh my God! Name some teams.
Uh, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, uh,
So,
Texas.
so I think Kentucky was the closest one. So we'll be making our way out there.
There you go. There
Yep.
you go.
But so to everybody that checked us out today, if you got something from this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And if you really want to understand how to better support young people, check out my book, Prepared Adults Raise Prepared Kids. Jay, love you, brother. Gonna be tapping in with you, man. Good luck to you guys.
Love you too. All the best.
All right.
All the best, bro.